How about now? Can you see me and hear me? I pay good money for this. Nice. I'm here. I'm live. Hello, hello. We good? Yes, I got a yes. Is that a you can hear me and see me kind of yes? Yay, we're getting yays. That's good. Can you hear me? Just say I can hear you. Tuesdays is my hell day. Actually, not really. Ew, both. Good. All right, we're here. This was just me being stupid because I have to now worry that my mic is not going to work. So then I forget to do other things like hit go live. One thing you guys know is I'm always going to fucking entertain you. Oops. Now I said that in the first like 5 seconds of the show and they'll demonetize me. So that's good too. What can you do? Good to be here. Good to see you guys. Oh, look, I forgot to turn the light out too. See, these are the things that happen when you worry about things that you shouldn't have to worry about. I should not have to worry about whether my stupid microphone's going to work. So I worry about that. And then I end up forgetting to do all the other things that I was planning on doing and getting ready. Luckily, I did prepare for this thing ahead of time. We got some good stuff to talk about. As you may know, we got two already members who were two domestic terrorists from January 15th, why do I say that? From January 6th, 2021, or just known as January 6th, who tried to attack our Capitol, murder police officers, wiped feces on the walls and whatever, have already been arrested. One of them wasn't arrested because he got in let's call it a shootout with cops, and it didn't go so well for him. So yeah, we'll go through a little bit of that recidivism on crime for violent felons and domestic terrorists, and it's pretty much through the roof. So you should expect a lot more of this to come. We're also going to talk about Jim Acosta, which is the most important story, I think, right now, how he handled it, not just what he said and what he did. And then I think we're going to get a little bit more into, let's see what else we have planned for today. Trump's attacks in general on the federal government, trying to stick his own people in spots where there are now what we would call non-political appointees, lifetime career civil servants. It's something Stalin did. So Trump's really, you got to like that he's going through his dictators. He's like, well, I'm going to do what Hitler did there. I'm going to do what Castro did there. We'll try Stalin over there. He doesn't want to leave anybody behind. Wasn't that a George Bush thing? Leave no child behind. Actually, Trump does. He deports them. That sick piece of human dung. Actually, donkey dung. Let's call him that. What he's doing with kids, we'll talk about that too. Getting rid of the executive order so they now can deport around hospitals and around schools. You really have to be sick. Let's start with Cliff is very white. Well, thank you. I think my lights may be too bright, because there's nothing else wrong. So that might as well be wrong too. What does it say there? The light does a good job of hiding wrinkles, I would say. Oh, so there's a positive to it. Yeah, I actually talked to somebody who knows a lot about this. We're going to soften those a little bit because I do think it's still a little crazy. Lisa Mia Moore with a $5 super chat right out of the gate. Thank you. Careful, you may burn. I'm not a vampire. I'm not Stephen Miller. Let's talk about Jim Acosta, okay? Have this be our first takedown. Jim Acosta has been one of the few truth tellers in what I would call corporate media, and everyone else who has any common sense would call corporate media. It is media that does not work in any sense the way it was meant to in our Constitution, does not protect us, does not expose corruption, does not make sure that people that are sane will, let's say, win the presidency, and that really that people are informed about the actual candidates. It's this crappy fake system kind of built out of World War II, you could say, even earlier on. They don't do this in Europe, but we pretended our media was always going to be objective. And for a period of time when the parties were sort of similar on a lot of things, it maybe kind of worked. It hasn't worked since Newt Gingrich and even Ronald Reagan came around. You can lie directly to the media's face and they'll just repeat, well, so-and-so said this. Cliff said that chocolate is chocolate, but Tony said that chocolate is vanilla. That's what we've got now. And you see when it's about issues of life or death, it's about issues like deportation and women's rights, to whether they're going to go to a hospital and have medical care ignored while they have to go into a bathroom and perhaps lose their lives and things of that nature. We kind of need more than a stupid media that pretends objectivity means 50% between the two sides. Jim Acosta has been one of the good ones. John Harwood, who I've always loved, was fired about 2-3 years ago from CNN under the last idiot that ran it, Chris Licht, who ran it into the ground, thinking we can get people. We really can get conservatives. Trump calls you enemy of the people. The people who are in MAGA, who are dancing around in upside down flags and Trump diapers, are honestly more likely to watch a pile of their own feces than they are CNN. And they probably do. They're not watching you. You're never winning them over. So the only conclusion I can come to is you're just making your corporate bosses happy, or somebody's some money in your back pocket. Or Trump's offered tax cuts to your parent companies, and we have to figure out who that is, because of course monopoly has taken over our entire country, and we've got six entities that essentially control everything. They're all massive conflicts of interest, as we know with Bezos and Amazon. That's why he doesn't care about the Washington Post. Washington Post is kind of like his poker chip. So he can, Trump, you want me to kill that cartoon? Oh, you want me to get rid of push Jen Rubin out? You want me to do whatever? I'll do any of that as long as you give Amazon, you kill the mail service, USPS, and let Amazon take over, that kind of thing. Well, Jim Acosta, much like Harwood before him, people and other who, the cartoonist Ann Talnis, I believe her name was, who left the Washington Post in protest when they put her cartoon up, is a hero of democracy and would not take their crap. I'm sure he was given many chances and probably warned to not keep going after Donald Trump, to not keep challenging Trump. And he wouldn't listen. He kept pointing out lies from MAGA, lies from Trump, lies from Elon Musk, lies from all the billionaires, the Zuckerbergs and Bezoses and Peter Thiels and people that actually control this country. And for that, he eventually was going to get kicked out. I was surprised they were just moving him to midnight. As I said, I thought they would try to create a new hour in the middle of the night somewhere, maybe the 25th hour or something like that, just to put him in, or some other sort of phantom zone. No, what they did in the end was they did what you knew they would do. They fired him. They pushed him out. But being Jim Acosta, he didn't go quietly. On live TV, he ripped the crap out of them. He sat there and said, after his, many people thought covering Trump was my proudest moment. My proudest moment was when I went and saw with President Obama, nice little dig there at Trump, to open up relations with Cuba. And he's like, I saw what a tyrant acted like down there. Never be, what I promised myself then, or something of that nature in the news, is I will never be afraid to stand up to a tyrant. Direct shot at Trump. And direct shot, frankly, at CNN. And said that no matter where he is, what the news should be about, what it is about, is he said, we will, I will stand up to lies. I will stand up against fear. And I encourage you to do the same, even if it's with your phone. And these are the messages that leaders tell, like the, Pastor Booty at the Episcopalian Church. And lately we've seen Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC saying, I'd rather be 6 feet under than stop fighting Nazis. And certain other members, who was the one who gave a great speech the other day, well, Raskin ripped into them too. But somebody, I'm trying to think which one of them gave a rip-roaring one. Well, and we know what Tammy Duckworth did to Pete Hegseth. I've shown that video, and we talked about that before. That Jim Acosta now joins that group. And I'm telling you, you've heard me on this show, and if you watch Tony's show, you've heard about him talking about it. Like, immediately Ann Talnis went to Substack and had 250,000 followers. Like, Acosta's going to be fine. This media is dying. And as, to quote the great Captain Kirk, played at the time by William Shatner in Star Trek VI, An Undiscovered Country, he was talking about Klingons, but I'm going to talk about corporate media. Let them die. They have failed miserably. They have been bought. They are owned. They're in the bag for Donald Trump. They either are scared of him, or their parent company wants tax breaks, or whoever their executives are making millions and want tax breaks, or they want to move up. They're just good Germans who want to get that promotion to the corner office. Can I become a major? Oh, you need me to take those couple of Jewish folks and gay folks outside? Okay, that's who's there. I'm going to talk a little bit later in the show. Scott Jennings pulled another one again. CNN is a trash heap. And honestly, do not watch. I mean, I've said it before. Do not watch cable. Do not buy these. There are exceptions. I pointed them out. The Philadelphia Inquirer should become the paper of record of anything we're going to consider a major newspaper, city newspaper. 6th biggest city in the country, owned by a foundation, tells the truth. Called on Donald Trump to get out of the race after the debate with Joe Biden. Why? For being a serial liar. They employ one of the best columnists in the country, and Will Bunch, who I've had on this show, who's liberal. They tell the truth. But come here. I've started to grow again. Please, if you're here, subscribe to Cliff's Edge here. Subscribe to Tony's Place. This is where we're going to grow. Subscribe to my Patreon, where I put extra content and allows you guys to help me do this more. Come to Substack. I promise you, I just picked up a few thousand subscribers there. I promise you, it is growing. It is where, when TikTok was shut down, those folks started to go. It's where people are going, realizing you can keep your data. You know who your people are. You have their emails. You can keep in touch. Again, it's Cliff's Edge there. At Cliff's Edge, there's no underscore in between like there is at the Patreon and the YouTube. The point is that that's where the truth teller is going to be. And those outlets are going to get bigger and be covered by media more and more, as most mainstream media that's left, like the Philly Inquirer, as most corporate media dies, because we're going to pay no attention to it. Even if it exists, it'll be a tree falling in the forest. There'll be nobody watching and nobody reading. That is my goal. They are trash. They destroyed this country. They helped bring about the possibility of fascism, certainly authoritarianism, which we already have. They have done countless horrific things, from acting like aluminum tubes meant we need to attack Iraq, to saying the Russians had nothing to do with the 2016 election a week beforehand, taking the lies of a New York office FBI that was enthralled to Trump, and we found out one of them owned by Russia. They either are doing it purposely, the dumbest effing people alive, or some combination. And I go with combination. Again, they're good Germans. They want those promotions. They want those tax cuts. They want to crush the competition so they can become even bigger monopolies. Jim Acosta, you are a hero. You will end up on Substack, probably on YouTube, and any number of places with God knows how many subscribers and followers. My guess is if he were to go to Substack right now, he'd have 500,000 in pretty quick order, because there are a lot of us out there that thank you and appreciate you for doing what you did, and calling CNN a bunch of and Trump really in a not very veiled remark tyrants on the way out the door, and telling people to not abide by lies, clearly implying CNN does again. Perfect. So that's what we're going to need in this period of time. We're going to need the helpers. We're going to need the people to stand up. One of those people is Jim Acosta. I don't have his power. I like to think I'm another one of those people. Read you what AOC said. There's plenty of others out there. We're the leaders that we've been waiting for, to quote an old Obama line. And that has been my takedown for the beginning of this show. Play the clip, Cliff. Yeah, I need to get better at that. When Tony comes in, he can. Guys, that's my next lesson. I'm actually learning right now in Canva. So I'm able to put together my own thumbnails because I want them to look more kind of like me, you know, what I want. I have a great editor who is busy with a lot of things, and I think the editing is going to move more to me and someone else. So I'm learning how to edit video. I'm doing lots of things. I am working on the Substack. There you go. Acosta's already on Substack. He joined last week. Anybody know how many he has? I'm willing to bet you that is a huge, huge number just today. I'm going to go look. Sure, no one's searching for Jim Acosta today. Okay, I've got Jim Acosta here. Let's see if he gives you. He only has 15,900, and now you can add me to that. Subscribers. I promise you, by the time the day is over, it's going to be a lot higher than that. I think not everybody has heard the announcement yet and seen, and that will get saturation coverage today. Cynthia Rice, as she so kindly always recommends, please, guys, you know, watch, obviously, subscribe, like, comment. These are the tools of the trade. And lately, finally, I've got the this Elon Musk video that I put out, and it sort of stemmed from something from a few weeks ago. It's been going right now, at least semi-viral, 15 or 20,000 views, and still going strong. Please watch it for me, because the more views it gets, well, that helps me. In fact, I'm going to help you help me, as the saying goes. Hold on. Now we'll turn that off. And here we go. This is the Elon Musk one. Do not go there now. Stay here. But just, why don't you copy and paste that for later? But again, I think this is a really a seminal moment in well, I mean, in recent American history. I honestly believe we're seeing the finishing off of corporate media, because again, we've seen the people who've left the Post, left the New York Times, they're going again and starting YouTube channels and Substacks and things of that nature, right? Hell, TikTok. Jim Acosta can go do some short videos on TikTok, and my guess is this grow immensely. And my Twitch folks out there, by the way, who got me monetized, I love you guys. Know that we're going to have a moderator. We've got great Andrea Bauer, who works with Hal and other people, is moderating in there. I ask you to please keep subscribing if you're over at Twitch. I'm 9/10 of the way to where I guess I'm supposed to be for something or other. Messed around on it this weekend. I like Twitch a lot. I'm going to spend more time there and learn what I can do. Can I write stuff there? Can I put up just little videos that aren't streaming? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. But if you are watching me from here, seriously, please subscribe and, support the channel. I don't know what super chats are over there, but if there's any way, are they bits or something like that? Whatever you can do to support us, please. Again, because some folks who are honest are going to emerge from this, right? There's also and a lot of you know who these folks are, but there's also, a mainstream out there right now who, I'm sorry, not a mainstream, a group of people who have, gone to the left to do these kinds of things. And even those folks are just grifters. I'm not going to get into names right now. You people are smart. You know who's putting out garbage stuff and whatever. Yeah, I've got to play around a little bit with my, with titles and make them a little jazzed up and like shocking and whatever. And I hate doing that, but it's what gets CNN to make them viral. If I want the views, I've got to do that. I've got to create more creative thumbnails. So I'm doing it begrudgingly. But you know who the people are who do all this stuff, and they do it because it's money. Look into their histories. You know somebody who's got a big account who doesn't really seem like they've ever done anything before. I'm sorry, I'm not saying they have to. I wrote ads for Biden. I have a best-selling book. I wrote columns for the Daily Beast and Guardian, whatever. I'm not some god, but at least I can claim I accomplished some things in my business. The people out there have never done anything else. Maybe be a little suspicious of who they are and why they're doing it. I'm doing this right now in a way where, Cliff, show your bits. How about this? Give me some bits if that's what you need to give me on Twitch, and maybe I'll show you my bits. Although I was told I look pretty white right now. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Do you want to see really white bits? So we're talking about Elon Musk in here. I mean, one of the biggest disinformation platform in the world. And the guys out there doing Nazi salutes and claiming they're Roman salutes, like we're too stupid to know that, gee, I wonder where the Nazis got their salute from. The Holy Roman Empire, which was later in the Roman Empire, was the First Reich. Is it possible that they got their salute, that the Holy Roman Empire copied the original Roman Empire in its salute, and the Nazis thinking they were the next edition of that, and in between was the Bismarckian German Empire, that maybe they took that from there? Roman salute. I'll give Elon Musk a fucking Roman salute. Actually, I won't touch that guy because you think I'm white, that pasty, putrid Putin lover. I'm not. Ew. Bill Maher is a complete tool. It certainly seems that way. I haven't watched all of Maher's stuff, and here and there he'll take on a Trumper and rip them and do whatever. But my God, he's moved so far to the right. I used to watch him. I don't watch him anymore. I won't listen to the stupid stuff. I just won't. I can't. And again, he's one of these stupid free speech absolutists, that only empowers liars, disinformation purveyors, and fascists. Because disinformation is equal to information. And I get it, he's a comedian, and I've even said to you guys before, I think we're too uptight at times about what we get offended by. I think comedians should have a lot more latitude, and nobody should be calling for them to be canceled for making jokes that offend us somewhat. George Carlin's jokes would have offended us today, and plenty of other grades. So I'm with him on that. I don't think people should so easily be offended, so easily need a safe space, should so easily, I don't think the word microaggression should exist. It's a tough world out there, okay? But when it comes to actual, verbal assault, when you're ripping into someone, attacking somebody, yeah, that's assault. We need to do something about that. And when it comes to disinformation that harms our democracy, Yeah, we need to do something about that. And when it comes to Tony Michaels, who's a Polak or Ozarkian goofball, we need to do something about that. So I'm going to add him to the stage.
Do something about it. Do
You
something.
like how that just boom?
Yeah, it was a great transition. That was great.
Thank you.
I had a little bit of trouble with the Twitch.
Did you say transition? Because if you said that, I don't know. I might get in trouble with both YouTube and Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
No, not that kind of transition. I'm not transitioning from a multi-millionaire to a multi-billionaire overnight because I won the presidency. That's not what I'm doing.
Oh, you don't have a crypto scam up your sleeve?
No,
we should
I do not. I should come up with a crypto scam though. I should do that.
Not Ozarkian, Naomi, Ozarkian, as in the Ozarks. That was what I was referring to. Our friend,
Ozark.
Tony. I was quoting one of Tony's favorite comedians, and clearly, my favorite. I've always said this, so nothing new. George Carlin. When I was saying to folks here that people would be offended by him today, we need to not be offended by jokes. Okay, I mean, obviously. Again, these are things that are subjective to a certain degree. There are people who quite clearly go past the line of what's decent and are purposely using things like the N-word and whatever. No, they should go jump off the nearest 5th floor Putin hotel. Okay, but
catch window cancer, is that what
exactly? But you can't get offended by every little thing. As I said, the word microaggression shouldn't exist because it allows the right to come at us and pretend. They want to control language. And in the end, the right wants to control language. And they want to control it by allowing all the disinformation, all of the actual verbal assault and bullying and threats and terroristic threats and encouraging people to commit violence online and all the other stuff that is banned. I will tell you guys again, like in other Western countries, my friend Guillaume in France just sort of stared at me when I was trying to explain to him that the things you can say online in this country, right? That you would go to prison, therefore.
Yeah, right.
You openly support
that's the thing that's the thing that always gets me about some of these and it's the same 2A bros that are like freedom of speech. Like they literally have never investigated other countries, even free countries around the world, of what their level of freedom of speech is. And we in the United States have one of the most unregulated freedoms of speech in the entire world.
And when speech encourages people to commit actions, and again, the comparison I always make, because we've all seen them, right? I go to like a Reds or a Bengals game here. There's always that one jackass standing there with the sign about how I'm going to hell if I don't repent. I actually go up to that guy usually and say, I actually killed Jesus. I'm sorry. It was by accident. It was in the heat of the moment. He was pissing me off. His sandals smelled. But those
sandals. What they smell like? I
mean, he probably wasn't washing his feet much, so I don't know.
So you're saying like Pete Hegseth style?
Yeah, it's probably like Pete Hegseth's hands. But so I mean, that guy, if he wants to stand out there and say that stuff, let him stand out there. But if he's standing out there saying, kill the person next to you, now that's different. Now we're encouraging violence. And now, I'm sorry, you don't have that speech. Now I'm going to make it. Now, let me just finish the thought. Now I'm going to make it much worse. Now you're online and you're speaking to 1 million people. You're a cult leader. Like, I mean, Trump is one, but Elon Musk, any of these types of figures. And you're encouraging people to do that. How, as any kind of normal society, can we do that? Let people do that online to all sorts to people and think that is not going to incite violence and lead to that. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was going to say that the part that they miss, right? These Elon simps, especially where they're like on Twitter, like we got freedom of speech. They're really the freedom of speech is that the government isn't going to come after you and punish you. Now, so those consequences of government, right? But there's always consequences for your actions, no matter whether it's speech or silence, or, I mean, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you can or to say can and will be held against you in a court of law. That's consequences, right? But here's the thing, is that we have lost these words in our country, protected speech, because there is such thing as protected speech, meaning that the government won't come after you. They'll actually protect you with those types of speech. And I think that's important.
But can you explain to me why I mean, you can't, obviously, because it's not logical. I'm throwing this as a rhetorical question. We cannot
I'll
threaten-
try.
Well, right now, if any one of us here, so guys, seriously, don't do it in the comment section, because it is illegal, and you probably know this. But if any one of us threatens the life of the president of the United States, he can send the Secret Service and others, and we can go to prison for it. That is an actual law. You cannot do that. So again, we were the ones who wanted to say that the president wasn't a king here. Why can we not do that with the president? But we can do that online. We can encourage people to harass somebody to the point where they're attacked or they take their own life or, whatever happens. Why would we allow that? I bring up the case again and again. I'll kick it to you, Tony, on this one, which is there was, and of course now she's secretary of the UN, which is insane. Or has she been voted on yet? Stefanik? She will be, whatever.
Yeah.
She was repeating the great replacement theory garbage. Right. And that's the stuff where they think they're going to be outnumbered, which they are, because it's really simple demographics, but they think it's some kind of conspiracy. And of course the Jews are in on it, because if there's a good conspiracy, we're always there.
Yeah, if there's a conspiracy, the Jews are behind it.
Wow, we're always in on it. And
Right.
it's conspiracy for there to be more black and brown, babies and white ones and blah, so that's their theory. Well, Elise Stefanik in New York State repeated that. And somebody from New York State, who maybe heard Elise Stefanik say it, maybe didn't, I don't know, as we know, drove up to an hour away to Buffalo and went into that supermarket that was filled with black shoppers and opened fire, killing innocent humans. And again, in that moment, they lost everything. They lost everything they ever were, everything they ever were going to be. Their families lost, God, maybe everything to them, because Elise Stefanik pranced around saying this stuff, and God knows who else did. And people were encouraging it online. And what I'd like to point out to people is, we did not arrest one person encouraging this guy who was already, pontificating online, committing violent acts. All the people that encouraged him, these Nazis, not one of them was arrested. There's only one. And you know where that one lived? The United Kingdom. Because the British don't allow that crap. So he got a 9-year prison sentence for that in the United Kingdom and went to prison. Now, what message does that send to others who are going to do that? Maybe not to do it. Whereas we just let it happen. And again, I didn't mean to get into this whole discussion again, but to me, this is up there, as far as I'm concerned. If it's existential for the world, you may be talking climate change, you're talking whatever. But if you're talking about stuff that is just as existential for the United States of America as climate change is, disinformation and, our gun laws and a number of other things that allow people to radicalize people into committing violent acts, obtaining the weapons very easily to commit those acts, and the rest, that's what this is existential. It is a fight we must win. We must regulate speech that is dangerous. And again, we already do. I just told you can't threaten the president's life. We have a number of other laws like that. Obviously.
Well, we just need to enforce what we have. Now, I want to go. I want to go back for a second, because I think this this idea of freedom of speech, and them talking about freedom of speech and not fully understanding it, it is very, 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 very important. And when the simps like Elon and the Elon elite, as it is, the reason why they're so concerned with the freedom of speech is because they want their freedom of speech. They don't.
Well, they want their freedom to lie and share disinformation, because they can't win without it.
Right. Well, and I mean, these are going to be the debates that we have over the coming years. Is what is protected and what is not protected, and by protected I mean by the law. But I don't know if you folks noticed who's in charge of the quote law right now, but
he's a criminal. Also, the one in charge of the Pentagon. Also, the one, which other ones have been put in office? I guess she didn't commit a crime, technically. Old Gravel Pit McGee there that walked Cricket the puppy to the gravel pit and went. But I would say it feels like abuse of animals and should have been a crime, and she should have gone. I don't understand why she did not go to prison for that. She also, by the way, when they tried all this Hunter Biden stuff, Kristi Noem, really, legitimately, as in, we have the paperwork and have everything, allowed her daughter to cheat and become a real estate agent without having to take the test that everyone is required to do. She basically like put into motion the favoritism so her daughter could cheat. Exactly the kind of stuff they said Joe Biden did for Hunter Biden, which he did not do. So
that's why they were accusing him, is because they know all about it. Speaking of knowing all about it, you're talking about speaking of candidates for these positions, Elise Stefanik. I want to say something really quick on Elise Stefanik, because some people in the chat were saying like, "Oh, she knows better," and she does know better. But if you
she was a moderate once when she first ran. She was a George W. Bush appointee. When she first ran, she ran very much as a moderate. So just so people know that. Yep.
Right. But I want to go back, reverse a little bit if I can, to the little congressman that was in a wheelchair, Madison Cawthorn. You remember Madison Cawthorn?
I mean, how can you not? I mean,
right. But do you remember why he's not
those tapes and just get turned on? I'm sorry.
Right, but do you remember why Madison Cawthorn isn't a congressman though, right?
Yeah, because he told the truth, and they
right.
all
He accidentally told the truth, but he told the truth.
Out and he told the truth, and guess what happens then? You ever see Goodfellas and Joe Pesci?
Right, you're gone.
They tell you you're going to be a made man. They walk you in a room, you see plastic on the floor, and you kind of get where it's headed.
Right. Well, so Madison Cawthorn, the Nazi on wheels, he is.
I know, but it was funny.
That's what he is.
I
mean, he is. I thought you were questioning whether he is or not, but he is. He is a Nazi on wheels.
I thought Nazi on wheels sounded like. I mean, that could be a rock band,
like Meals on Wheels, Nazi on Wheels. But here's the thing: is that he let the cat out of the bag, and I think the cat out of the bag wasn't really that these things existed. A lot of people knew that these things existed. You know what I mean? Like this, the cocaine fueled sex orgies. That is. I believe. I don't have any proof of this.
Face.
Right, exactly. I don't have. Well,
which one? Right,
exactly. His third face, fourth face. Which one are we talking about? I believe. Now, I don't have any proof of this. I don't have any. This is just my intuition. Is that if these cocaine fueled sex orgies really did exist, which I believe that they did, it's the reason why they got rid of them, because they actually exist. If they didn't exist, they'd be like, oh, he's just a dummy, whatever. If they actually do exist, I believe that is what they have on Elise Stefanik. I believe that is how they changed Elise Stefanik's mind from being a moderate to not being moderate. I think Donald Trump has a lot of compromise on a lot of people in Washington, and I think he used these cocaine-fueled sex orgies as a way. He P. Diddy'd them.
So you're saying you think that Lindsey Graham was saying he was a kook and he was a nut and he was terrible and he was going to destroy the Republican Party and they need to get rid of him. And then he went and played golf with Trump once and came back saying Trump was an angel sent down from heaven. And you don't think that he just convinced him? You think that he may have had something on him? Because I can't think of anything you could have on Lindsey.
I 100% believe that there are plenty of videos of Lindsey Graham playing around with little boy toys in Washington on video, and Trump 100% not just knew that they existed. He knew exactly where they were at, and he told Lindsey Graham exactly where he would put them if Lindsey Graham did not come into his corner. Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that.
But I mean, this is where we're at, though. It's like a blackmail government by blackmail is what it is.
I was thinking I was going to say something worse, and I'm just like, I hate this. Like, someday YouTube, I will stop caring, and the other sources will be enough that you can demonetize these things every time, and maybe I won't care. But like, I was going to make a mouthwash joke about Lindsey Graham and some of the other men's private parts and
gargling something. Is that what?
Yeah, I was going to go along those lines.
Okay. Well, but I guess the audience will have to use their imagination.
No, him, I think it's totally compromised. But the only I don't disagree with you on Stefanik. When I started this off, my opening monologue, rant, whatever, takedown, whatever you'll call it today, was on Jim Acosta and being a hero. And going out in style and saying, how he learned when he went to Cuba, his last on air, going after CNN and Trump at the end there, and as he's going out the door and basically saying, when I went down with President Obama, I love how he got that in there too, to throw in Trump's face, because Trump will hate that. And my favorite moment was here at CNN. I went down with President Obama to when we opened relations with Cuba. And he's like, what I learned is you never bow to a tyrant. And I loved it because obviously it's a shot at Trump, but I'm not so sure it wasn't a veiled shot at CNN too, because my guess is they didn't want to go through the negative PR after they've taken a lot of negative PR of getting rid of him. They also did not want him saying the things he was saying, speaking truth to power, challenging Musk, challenging Trump, but pointing out when MAGA losers or liars are lying about things. So my guess is they probably went to him a couple times and warned him, and he probably told them where to stick it. And they ended up acting tyrannical too. I think that was a double-edged sword hitting both sides there, and then he made sure to say to never accept lies. Don't don't let your fear stop you. Don't let lies stop you. Take out your phone and put it on your camera on your phone if you have to. The point is the truth has to get out there, and we all part. And it was a really good way to walk out the door of CNN.
So I talked about Jim Acosta on my show today too, and maybe because I know we've been talking a lot about Substack because we're kind of coming to the same conclusion that I think it's kind of where journalism is headed.
Well, that's what I said actually, is that Acosta, I think he'll be on, I went and looked and he was at 15,900 subscribers. I don't know what he was at now.
That's what I'm just checking now.
He'll be a few thousand above that. I mean, today he's going to shoot up into the six figures would be my guess very easily.
Yeah, he's almost to 16 by now. I know there were certain networks that were trying to attract him. They were kind of begging. It was kind of pathetic, but they were kind of big. Please. Midas Touch was begging him.
Oh, that's right. My guess is,
they were begging him.
We'll see what happens, but he doesn't need them. He doesn't need the Young Turks. He doesn't need Lincoln.
Right,
Project.
And that was my point today: is that you don't need this
gravitas, and he's been getting paid God knows how much money. So if he doesn't make money, he'll be monetized pretty quickly. But if he goes a month or two not making a lot of money on YouTube, he can start YouTube. He can start a TikTok account for short things that he does. He can go on to Substack, which I almost definitively think he will do, because you can do video from there now too and write.
Substack is really working hard to try to get creators and journalists over there, right, to give them more and more credibility.
Yeah. So I mean, he's again. What I was saying, and the key part, at least one of the key parts I would say of what I was saying is, look, they're dying. Let them die.
Yeah.
Every time an Acosta or Ann Talness, the cartoonist at Washington Post or someone else leaves, gets a huge following at one of these other platforms, what that means in the end is that those platforms are going to be more covered by whatever's left of mainstream media, right?
Right, absolutely. And I use the example of Don Lemon. Now, it's a little different situation. It was a little different time because it's a while ago. But and I don't know exactly how much Don Lemon was making at CNN and how much he's monetizing now. But my guess is Don Lemon is probably making just as much with his CNN contract or more, definitely with more potential now than he was when he was under a CNN contract. And the thing is now Don Lemon is not under a contract. So Don Lemon can do pretty much whatever the hell he wants to do.
Well, if you've had that big an audience, again, you can go to numerous platforms. I mean, right now, I'm streaming to people on YouTube. Hello. I'm streaming to people on Twitch. I already talked. I told you guys you're awesome. Keep it going. Keep us growing there. And I've still got the stream going to maybe even convince some folks at Twitter. Hey, to you guys too. The platform sucks, and Elon is a big Nazi. But in the end, and soon Substack, and I'll do some streams to Patreon, and who the hell knows what else. But the point is that Hal streams to Facebook, which I don't, and other people stream to certain other platforms. I mean, the point is if those guys want to do a live broadcast, they can stream to 1 billion platforms. I'm exaggerating, but 5, 6, 7 platforms. They'll have a lot of people who will follow and tune in. They'll make a lot of ad revenue, and then they can go to the ones they can. And YouTube has members, and Patreon has members, and Substack has paid and unpaid. Between the numerous platforms and all of that, they'll do fine. In fact, they'll do better than fine. And I think that is where it's going to go. And when the Jim Acostas and people like that leave, think about how much. I mean, CNN already is like painful to watch if you get stuck watching it somewhere. Like I've been in an airport and seen it.
And
for
it's
30
not just the
seconds.
host either; it's the pundits too. The
The
pundits
whole thing is just painful, right? And so, I mean, they just lost one of their most interesting, charismatic figures. He's gone, and they're going to feel that.
And he's a staple for their network too. So like people who were there because or stayed there and watched because Jim was still there, they might be gone too. And if Jim goes somewhere else, they're going to go watch him in that somewhere
Correct.
else space. And that's the thing that I think is, I think that's the thing that is actually we're struggling with in our country is our division really isn't with each other. I think our division is like how we handle these new societal shifts. Because I mean, don't you feel like there's some party shift coming? It feels like there's some party shift coming. We've had these party shifts several times in the last century.
I mean, it's already been ongoing in certain ways.
Right. Well, and it just it's just the population really doesn't know where to land, right? They don't know where to land on the ideological spectrum, and I think there's a shift happening because we used to live in an age where there were conservative Democrats and liberal Republicans. To give you an example, Teddy Roosevelt started the Bull Moose Party, which official name was the Progressive Party, and he was a Republican. He was a
conservation, antitrust, women's suffrage.
He did want an empire. The same Teddy Roosevelt wanted to.
He was a little too excited to go charging up San Juan Hill. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm just saying, but if you go even more recently, listen, the 60s and 70s. And even 80s, there were still some of them left into the 90s and really by the early 2000s or whatever. You had a Lincoln Chafee here or whatever. But where I grew up in New York, like my parents who were Democrats used to vote for our Republican senator, Jacob Javits, because he was literally ranked the most liberal Republican senator of all of them. And you still had a whole bunch of Southern racist Democrats in there at that point. So he was more liberal than probably half to 2/3 of the Democratic Party. Like you're right. And that sort of, sorted itself out. I think we're going under a sorting, but I think it's bigger than that. I think we're going under a societal sorting. And I think once, media, the big sort of corporate media stuff falls apart, look, man, there may be room. That's where there may be room when we're talking about independent candidates and stuff like that. Because if you get some huge independent media sources that aren't paid by corporations just to support the parties and whatever, supporting a candidate, who knows? Maybe someone will rise to challenge that. I mean, I just think it can change things in a lot of ways.
Right. I think that's the division that we're under. It is we don't really understand quite what this shift is, and we won't fully understand it till probably 20 years after it happens. Because hindsight's always 20/20, if you want to put it that way, that old saying.
Whoever properly, who can grab the vast majority, because again, it built up. Teddy Roosevelt made some changes on the economic side. Woodrow Wilson did, even though he was a racist dick who instituted segregation in DC. And so I don't care. The economic stuff he did, I tend to just forget it. I'll give him credit, but he was horrible. So I don't look at him as a good person. Obviously, he was a bad person. But that stuff, they did some reforms to economics, but that Gilded Age, it was building, and then it exploded with the Depression. And FDR collected everybody and created this enormous coalition. And will it take a depression this time? I don't know. But we're in a place right now where everything is so fractured that if somebody comes along, and if they do, it's going to be on the Democratic side, because the Republican base will not allow somebody to come along and speak common sense about issues. They just won't
let me ask you, what was the federal grants that Trump did he cancel the whole federal grant program, or was there just a certain one?
For just in general?
Yeah, he shut them off.
Well, he's frozen a number of them. And he's
I haven't read exactly specifics. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. No, I don't think they're all canceled, but he's frozen them. Like, stuff that is obviously only important to Democrats, like let's say cancer research. I mean, that one, if Democrats don't publicize it, I mean, That is
I mean,
amazing to me.
who needs cancer research, really? I mean, as long as you don't got cancer, you're fine, Cliff. Come on, man.
Well, I know, and as you know, Republicans never get cancer, so they should be good.
Well, they need. Anyways, I don't want to say that. I wanted to, but I don't. I shouldn't.
Well, the cruelty of all of it, I think. Again, the media, as always, corporate media having literally zero perspective because they don't believe you can do things like look at numbers and history and whatever. Like Donald Trump's so popular, and you're like, okay, Harry Enton, we're so glad that you've been a numbers geek your whole life, that you probably were stuffed in lockers in freaking high school. But maybe for a second, analyze the fact that yes, Trump's numbers are high coming in because every president gets that honeymoon. And Trump's honeymoon is the worst of any president for like the last 40 or 50 years.
Right.
Even if it's like a 60% or whatever the approval rating is so far below. When Obama came in, his approval rating was 80%. I mean, that stuff melts very quickly. People tend to like start off because they want to like the new president. Trump will take care of that very quickly. But Harry Enton,
he's already doing it.
Harry Enton couldn't bother to look up that history, learn about it, and apply it to the current situation. So of course he told us that Trump's popular coming.
So I want to go over that just for a second before I leave, because I think these facts are important. The Office of Management and Budget, which most people are going to hear is OMB, which Ross Voigt, I don't know how. Vought,
Tim Kaine tore him a new one. I did a thing on that last week and still need to create that takedown video.
But he's the head of it.
Project 2025.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's one of the architects, and he's clearly doing this with Project 2025 in mind. All these pauses do not affect direct aid programs. Direct aid is like Social Security, Medicare. Of course, they can't shut that off, because if they shut that off, there would be pitchforks on the White House lawn. If they shut that off, they're very aware of how.
I love it. Somebody got it here. Vought Industries. Do you know what that is, Tony?
No.
Human F Being. That would be the company that runs all of the murderous superheroes in The Boys.
Really? Oh, that's great.
Yes,
that's
all the superheroes who actually are super bad guys with superpowers. And
that's
murderers is Vought. I am mad. I didn't think of that sooner. So thank you for that.
So the broad range, though, in federal assistance, education, which of course they don't like education, healthcare research, housing assistance, and then international aid. These agencies are directed to pause new awards, distributions, under open awards and other actions until further review. So basically, people are going to show up to wherever they're going with the funds that they think are going to be there, and like, oh yeah, you don't have a college grant. Sorry, you're out of our university. Now,
there are all sorts of people who've been doing, and again, this happened on like what Target just did, because they're bowing to the king, and they crushed all of the DEI programs. And again, their programs, they've let the right turn DEI into such a bad word, and if DEI is something where you're actively discriminating, you're saying we will not ever even consider hiring anybody white, right? Different people do things different ways. If that is the way you're handling DEI, you're doing it wrong, and that is bad, because that's not the way you do it. You try to increase diversity. You try to increase the people who historically we've discriminated against. We've had Jim Crow. I mean, that all makes a ton of sense. But you don't, and I don't think most people, by the way, are have done DEI in the way that I said before. I'm sure there are some, but not most. So Target just canceled their program, and it was heartbreaking. Like, there are a couple of like small, they're Black small business women, who are putting up the products they created, and they created this special program for them, at Target, that allowed them to sell their products. They had never had access to a market before, and whatever. And now they did, and they're making money, and just out of nowhere, done. I mean, this is my
feeling on it, actually, and we're going to have a difference on this, I think, is that Target canceling their DEI policy and their private or their company's policy is so insignificant at this point. Like, we have such an assault on our democracy. Target's DEI policy is so far down on my list. And
I
really,
agree.
honestly, I think it's
But it was
bait.
to
I think
those
it's
people,
bait.
Tony, to those people, it was cruel. And it was, imagine if your business, you're being supported right now by ads or whatever it is, and somebody just pulled them from you because Donald Trump decided to say that they should. That's the
Oh,
point I'm
I mean
making.
that we're going there. But
Right. So
what I'm trying to say
I'm not saying I agree with
is
you. Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that if we get mired or drawn down into these debates on these distractions, especially like Target doing DEI, the problem is that we for so long have looked, and we talked about this before, these corporations, these CEOs, the ultra rich, the word, and we talked about these the other day, the words good stewardship used to be part of the curriculum when we were talking about business in this country. It is
Correct.
no longer part of their vocabulary. It has never been part of their vocabulary. The reason why Target had a DEI policy in the first place is to make them feel popular so that people would come and
You're
buy
right.
their stuff.
You're right.
And
You're right. They were there. It was
so
PR.
Target was never doing the DEI for the right reasons anyways.
I agree.
And it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear they were never doing it for the right reasons because they were so willing just to toss it aside when the fascists take over the government. So, and
I would agree.
Again,
I just feel
we're
like
giving
it's
too much
important
credit.
to say, okay, yeah, I agree. I just feel it's important to say that you never even need to use, if you want to message against these evil corporations, you never even need to use those three letters. All you need to simply point out is Target decided there are a number of small business women here and decided with no warning to pull their funding, screw their businesses, put their employees out of business, put them out of business. And to me, again, as you and I have talked about, a lot of things can fit into the larger frame of monopolies and billionaires. And this is, to me, again, I get it because the right has framed certain things in certain ways and certain words are loaded, but you never even need to use those three letters. You can point out another big corporation crushed small business because Republicans told them to.
Right. Well, and I mean, you go
And
back
that does
to
fit what we're talking about.
yes. When you go back to the Target's view on things and Target participating in politics or somehow Target having this capability of affecting societal shift or something. And you go back to, I don't know, a year or two ago and Target had like the rainbow sweaters, right? They had the pride sweaters. They were printing rainbows on shirts.
I mean,
The
they're
right
so
wingers
full.
like,
I know.
we're going to boycott. We're just going to destroy Target. Target's going down. And Target's like, yeah, okay, you're just putting us in the news. And I'd hate to break it to people, but when we sit and have conversations about their DEI policy, which they didn't give a flip about anyways, it's pretty obvious they didn't give a flip about it, or they'd actually had some integrity in not canceling it on these people. Then they're in the news. Target's in the news, and
I know, but why don't we talk
2025.
about their policies towards humans, which is pull their funding, screw the people who they've promised that they're small businesses they've promised they're going to help. I mean, really, in the end, it's not even about race. It is what they did, but the broader narrative is not about race. It's about small business people who were promised something and had it ripped away from them in the same manner in which you had your monetization ripped away from you.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, brings me to a point I've made often, and I have to make while you're still here.
Sure. Which I got to leave in a few minutes, but yeah, go ahead.
I know, so that's why I'm doing this now. So you may have all seen, I've taught you, and Tony has, and I've taught you again, and I have explained to you. Yes, the YouTube has started growing again, which is great. It's important because it still is the place videos are housed. I need folks to keep subscribing. Please do. Please subscribe. Also, if you're watching this on Twitch right now, I need you to do that. But the reason why I'm telling you to then also go to Substack and to go to Patreon places, and I'm even this, like, here's why this is so important. Let me make this simple instead of trying to make this more complicated. What I said to you is you've seen what Facebook has done, right? Getting rid of independent fact checkers overnight, firing people, screwing people. You've seen what Jeff Bezos has done with the Washington Post, screwing people, not listening to people. You've seen what Elon Musk did to Twitter when he came. We've seen that anything can change. They shut down TikTok. And what I kept saying to you was, who here doesn't think if the right amount of pressure is put on Google, they couldn't shut us down and say if the Trump administration said we're going to have tax breaks for you, all you have to do is shut down every lefty creator. Well, here you go, folks. Now I've got you. Now I've got it for you. Google has just announced they are changing the Gulf of Mexico will now be the Gulf of America on Google Maps. I am not kidding you. This is happening. So Google has now bent the knee like all of these others. Remember, don't do evil or whatever their stupid saying is. Yeah. If they will do that, you ask themselves, and hopefully you'll understand me more. And hopefully, please, you will go and you will subscribe to my Patreon and to my Substack. Because I'm telling you, and you do the same for Tony, because I am telling you, a day will come. I don't know when it's going to be, but a day will come. Well, Trump will make them the figurative or literal offer they can't refuse, and they will shut people like us down on YouTube. I just know it. It's going to happen. They don't answer us when we ask them questions. They demonetize stuff without telling us why.
They blackball me.
Right, they blackballed him. So there's literally no recourse. There's no one getting back. All it took was all people said, well, Google doesn't have an evil CEO like that, whatever. I don't even know who Google's CEO is. And is it Schmidt? Maybe it's Schmidt, whatever. I don't even care. Like the point is what they've proven now, they will do that at any time.
Oh yes. So, they are part of the monopoly state for sure.
So I need you at Twitch also, and I need you at YouTube to subscribe. But I need you to go to Substack when we're done with this show or whenever. Click on it. Please subscribe there. I need you to go to Patreon. Please subscribe there. They are the only places when and if Google decides to do this. And I'm becoming of a mind that it's more when than if. It may take a year. May take 6 months, may take 2 years, but at some point, if it's determined in Stephen Miller's little, half cerebral vampire brain that that they need to shut down Cliff Schechter and Tony Michaels and name all your other favorites on here, and then you won't pay any taxes the next couple of years. They will do it. They've proven that. This whole stupid Gulf of, Google is in Mexico. Mexico is a big country. Mexico City is one of the biggest cities in the world. And they have now given a middle finger to all of their customers in Mexico because Donald Trump told them to do it. So if they'll give a middle finger to their customers in Mexico, you think they're going to have a problem shutting me down?
No.
Think about it.
Yep. Well, go follow me on Substack. Just go to thetonymichaels.com. You can follow me on all the Monopoly State
Michaels on Substack. Go to @CliffsEdge on Substack. Go to @Cliffs_Edge on Patreon, and Tony can tell you other stuff there.
Yeah,
too.
Just go to thetonymichaels.com. You'll find me on all the Monopoly State apps over there. That'll be perfect.
Andrea was kind enough to throw this one up here where you can subscribe right now to YouTube, because I'm telling you, still do it, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep building the audience here and Twitch and everywhere. And Twitch so far hasn't given me any reason to have a problem with them, so I'll stay there until there's any. Although I do know they're owned by Amazon, and that guy's horrible too, or owned by Bezos or whatever. So maybe they'll give me a reason at some point. But the point is, everybody is owned by one of these big monopolies, and so we must keep subscribing in Twitch and YouTube and whatever. But we must be prepared, and the way you be prepared is you go to, @CliffsEdge at Substack and the Tony Michaels, and you subscribe, because none of these places we will have your email. We can keep in touch with you. If I'm just like the dude in that old Christian Slater movie, driving around with some old radio in my car, pirate broadcasting to you, he may have been the first live streamer. While the cops are trying to find me, that one from the 80s, Turn Up the Volume. That's what it was called. Yeah. Great to look back at now. Even if that's what it becomes, I'll know where to find you by email. And I won't hear. They shut this down right now.
It's done. Well, I got to shut down. I got to go. We'll see you. I got to jump real quick. I got a phone call I got to make. Thanks, Cliff. Thanks, audience.
Thanks for being here, man. All right, guys. So always fun having him. Look at that. 304. That was a good conversation. From England here. Good luck to Jim. Which Jim are we wishing luck to? And from England, G-Town. My friend, where are you there? I spent a great semester in summer studying in Brighton, England. back in the day and loved it and have visited many times since. Something's going on featuring Lois Griffin from Family Guy, Jim is saying, and I'm worrying that may be some propaganda of some sort. Here's the Patreon, guys. Seriously, you can sign up for free, but if you want to get it, really, it's like just you'll get all the basic stuff for just $3 a month. It is not a lot. And I will say, if that is a lot for you, okay, I get it. And then don't, because as I said to people, I don't want anybody risking anything. I'm not worth it. Your family's economic security. But if you can afford it, like if you're sitting there and you're spending money on New York Times, the Washington Post, or other publications like that, there's no reason you can't, for $3 or $5 a month, we really get all the basics, join my Patreon and support what I'm doing here. There's also no reason you can't go to Substack and subscribe for free. That's actually really easy. And again, I'll ask you for that, because what Google did today just makes me think it's coming. It's going to happen. I can't even believe they're doing that. All right, let's move on to some other topics. Let's do, we had a couple other things that I told you guys I was prepared with. Here's a good one we could do. Am I frozen? I was frozen for a second. Can you hear me? Come on. Hello, hello, hello. All right, I think I'm back on. Joe Scarborough. We always love ripping into Joe Scarborough, don't we? Does anybody not want me to rip into Joe Scarborough? Because Morning Jim has a nice ring. I like it. Morning Joe stinks. And yeah, this is moving slowly for some reason. What the? Guys, I'm telling you, it's always something. And I'm on my fastest internet here, so I don't know what it is. Let's make sure my phone is not on. I don't know what's going on. But if I'm going to do a rant and I can't do it in real time, then, that kind of sucks. That's not something that makes a lot of sense to do. So, yeah, Wi-Fi shut down. I don't know if that's going to help, by the way. But you might as well try. I know you can hear me as you're saying, Karen from Chicago, my good pal. Thank you. But if I do this thing and it looks like my voice is going at like a different time, then if you're seeing it like this is an old Kung Fu movie, that's really not the best for getting people to want to watch one of your videos. But let's talk Joe. So Joe Scarborough is now trying to win back fans, folks. He hasn't done enough. He didn't go and meet with Donald Trump after Trump won, after he's a threat to fascism. He's horrible. He's terrible. We'll never have democracy in this country. And, some of that stuff is anywhere from very true to perhaps true. But Scarborough, of course, was saying all of that while planning to go meet with Donald Trump, probably, if he won. He did. And as I said before, he and Mika were just pissed at Donald Trump because Trump insulted them. Because you can't criticize Trump at all or he insults you. The other Trump suck-ups are okay with that. They just ignore it when he insults them. Like Lindsey Graham just comes back like a little puppy nipping at his heels for more. Whereas in Joe's case, he wouldn't. At that time, he was angry because he's like Trump. He's more like Trump than he would ever admit. Pensacola boy, grew up, thinks he's a tough guy, thinks he's much smarter than he is, thinks he's much more clever, thinks he's much wittier, thinks he's much better looking, thinks he's much everything. He lectured us all on family values in the 90s and then ditched, his first wife for his second wife and then ditched his second wife for Mika, his co-host, because he's chock full of family values, man. That guy has got so much family values. It's pouring out of those really cool glasses that he wears. Aren't those things like they're little and cool? Like he's a stud, that man. So Joe's now trying to win people back on the left. He's actually insulting Trump more and sticking up for people. Like people come on their show and defend Trump, and he and Mika get mad at them. They don't realize the damage was done. Nobody, rules about marketing, branding, these kinds of things. When you do something awful and horrible, first of all, you're in big trouble. when you betray your core audience. It's why no one's going to buy a Tesla in the United States anymore. And really, Western Europe or anywhere, Elon Musk is an actual idiot. And the only way Tesla is going to do okay is if he can, cozy up to China enough that they'll buy them for him. So that's how you know, with his giga factory in Shanghai. And then that's how you know where Elon's loyalties lie and what a danger he is in the government, because you don't think he's going to share anything he can find with China. Yeah. I've got a spaceship to sell you that will probably blow up in space because it was made by Elon. Okay. Back to Joe Scarborough. He thinks he's going to fool people to coming back. But another rule is that if you do something during a time when, by bad luck, if something happens to you and something terrible during a time when there isn't a lot for the news to report on, you're really screwed. Because Joe and Mika had saturation coverage of their betrayal of their viewers and everyone else for like 2 weeks straight. There weren't the LA wildfires. There hadn't been that attack in New Orleans. I'm not saying any of these things are good. I'm just saying if there's something else taking up the news, you're much less likely you get knocked off the lead story, and it's not as bad. I always point out, and this may be going too far back for some of you guys, but there was the August of September of 2001 when the news was all like shark bite stories, even though one or two of them happened and other stupid things. And there was that whole Chandra Levy, Gary Condit, a Democratic congressman, having the affair. Turned out eventually she disappeared, and sadly somebody murdered her. I don't even know what the end result. They caught the person, but they suspected it could have been Condit because he's having an affair with her. He was exonerated from that, but the affair was everywhere, and he ended up losing Congress for that, because back then you lost Congress for stuff like that. Well, had that been a few weeks later, 9/11 would have happened, and I promise you, nobody would have known about Gary Condit or Chandra Levy. It would have been a 1-minute story, but it happened 3 weeks earlier, and it ended his career. Which is to say, luck isn't everything, but it's a lot of things. And Joe and Mika, who got a lot of luck for how this random congressman who isn't particularly good at anything landed a TV show, a morning show after his crappy night show at MSNBC. I'm sure he kissed a lot of butt, but why? He had no experience as a journalist. He was just a right-wing idiot congressman. Okay. Well, one of the ways he decides he's going to win over the left now is decrying how government has cut spending, that we haven't provided the infrastructure to fight these forest fires. We have gone, we have cut and cut and cut. So California wasn't in a position where they were ready because of what short-sighted politicians have done, right? Because Joe's smarter than they are. And he talked all about this on his show, and cutting the infrastructure and the rest. Hey, any of you guys want to guess when Joe first ran for Congress? I believe he won in the class of '94, that infamous class, and supported Newt Gingrich. What the main thing he wanted to do was? Could you think you could remember what he ran on? Right, cutting government, everything. If you think that getting rid of the Department of Education is a Donald Trump creation, no. Joe Scarborough was pushing that. He was one of the first ones to push getting rid of the Department of Education 25 years ago, something like that. Right? He, back then, was pushing for government to cut all programs across the board because they had to balance the budget. So you had to have a couple percent across the board randomly. Didn't matter how important the program was, like cancer research now, whatever it might be. We just had to cut funding. People would have to suffer. It's just the way it would have to be, because government can't spend more than it takes in. We all know it's a bunch of garbage if you understand Keynesian economics, and I'm not going to go into all that. So Joe Scarborough, when he came in, he was a little bit of a guy. That slashed infrastructure now is like the worst thing in the world, right? I mean, it's like, even Katrina in 2004, he tried to go back to that. So we hadn't built up the infrastructure. Do you know who cut the funding for infrastructure to do things like fortify cities like New Orleans? Yeah. Scarborough was one of the leading voices on that. Okay. That's how bad he is. This I have to get for you, because I want to make sure I even get the specific facts right on Joe Scarborough and what a hypocrite he is. All right. Are we all still with me? Have I frozen up enough times yet? Right. There we are. Oh, this is so annoying. Okay. And again, this is nothing to do with me here. So freezing for a second. We'll hope that we're going fine now. All right. So Joe Scarborough. Let's talk about what he wanted to cut when he got elected. Oh my God. Well, look, guys, he had a lifetime 95% rating from the American Conservative Union. You know who they are, right? Right. The American Conservative Union. That's the people that used to sponsor, if they still do. Now maybe it's TPUSA, whatever, CPAC. He was on the Armed Services Judiciary Reform Committee. Oh, isn't that nice? The New Federalists, which he led, a group called the New Federalists, called for sweeping cuts in U.S. government, including plans to, quote, privatize, localize, consolidate, or eliminate the departments of commerce, education, energy, and urban development. He was the head of that group that wanted to privatize. Let me say this again: the departments of commerce, education, energy, and housing and urban development. Gee, do you think some of those grants that come from places like housing and urban development and some of those other programs are how we're able to build up some of the neighborhoods we're able to build up and fortify them, make them stronger for when hurricanes and wildfires come? Yes. I see in there from Lefty Graham, he's a Newt Gingrich acolyte. He was one of his lieutenants. It wasn't just like he was literally by his side. I mean, there couldn't be a bigger hypocrisy. This guy led the effort to cut government, to cut its ability to do anything for us, including taking care of disasters. But wait, there's more. He obviously also, on the House Budget Committee, as I said, proposed a budget that cut across the board. We're cutting everything. You want cancer research? You want Alzheimer's research? You want Parkinson's research? Don't look to Joe Scarborough. You want to make sure your bridges, your roads, your tunnels aren't coming crashing down on you or falling in the water. Don't look to Joe Scarborough. You want to make sure your airplanes are flying safely in the sky. Don't look to Joe Scarborough. You want to make sure you can eat your food without being poisoned, without getting E. coli. Don't look to Joe Scarborough. He was in favor of all of this, like a leader. And now he has the gall to go there to try to save his ass on MSNBC by lying about it all, by retconning his entire past, pretending he's some moderate to liberal who understands that the reason that the wildfires got so bad is because we didn't provide the infrastructure. Yes, damn right. You didn't provide the infrastructure. Lying son of a bitch. It was you. It was you. You and your friends like Gingrich, another 3-time married philanderer. So please stop the gaslighting, stop the lying, and get fired already. Again, I don't know what you have to do there at MSNBC to lose your job. Compared it to George Costanza, if he came out in the Babe Ruth uniform and spilled crap all over it, could he get fired? If he came on the TV naked at some point and started waving his wang around, could he get fired from that? What does Joe Scarborough have to do besides crush the rest of the network with people who won't watch anymore and lose like 50 to 60% of his ratings? I don't know, but I guess we're all going to find out. In the meantime, watch Joe's hypocrisy, his lies, his garbage, his pretending once again. So he was on their side, then he was on our side, then he was on their side, then he was on our side again. Watch as then in their side, I believe. And now he's back on our side again. So this time you should really trust him. Pay much attention as liberal Joe Scarborough sits there and argues for investments in infrastructure, the exact opposite of what his entire political career was built on. Incredible. And that has been my second takedown, because you can never take down Joe and Mika enough. And this time I didn't even get into Mika and the sad looks on her face when Joe basically tells her to shut up. And you know what? Today's a good day to discuss it because we're talking about Jim Acosta too. Jim Acosta gets fired for sitting there and refusing to repeat lies, for refusing when Nancy Mace or some other scag comes on, from refusing to sit there and let them lie to their faces, attack certain groups of people and all that by taking them on and pointing out that they're lying to their faces. For that, Jim Acosta was banished. Joe Scarborough can do any damn thing he wants, apparently. He literally can have no audience. At some point, all right, you're just going to be a couple guys sitting around a fire roasting marshmallows, in like downtown Cincinnati, like 4 of them with a half broken down TV set from like 1982. And they're going to be watching Morning Joe. Maybe old episodes of Scarborough Country, because that was so good too. I mean, I can't tell you guys when I do these, when I do this and I talk about him, how often we will get in the comments people that said, I used to watch him every day. I have not turned on the TV since he did that to watch him. Or, things like that. He betrayed us. I will never watch him. I mean, they don't get it. Okay, guys, let me explain some basic marketing to you as I did to all of you. When I say guys, I'm really talking about the geniuses at well, now I guess it's Comcast currently. I don't know who's running things. They're trying to spin off MSNBC, so I don't really know who the hell's in charge at the moment. But some basic principles, like what I did try before with my little Gary Condit example and other stuff. 2 weeks of negative saturation coverage destroys reputations. You guys may remember it because it's what you did to Hillary over emails. You spent 2 goddamn weeks not shutting your little pie holes, talking constantly about something that we later learned everybody from Colin Powell to, of course, the entire Trump family did. And Trump ignored after they told him to stop and kept doing it. And of course, kept talking on his insecure too, I'm sure, being him, not secured cell phone from the White House where everybody spies outside listening. But Hillary's emails, the couple emails in the server at home, you guys wouldn't shut up about that. So that became something also. That's the way it works. Sometimes it works when people really do screw up, right? I mean, Enron back in the day comes to mind. Hear of a company called Enron anymore? No. They changed their name. Once you get a bad enough name where you're destroyed, the only thing you can do is rebrand. Maybe Joe Scarborough should get some less beady-eyed looking glasses, get in a little bit better shape, wear something other than the same one sweater he wears every day, and maybe name himself, I don't know. What's a good name? Morning Anus? Morning, I'll kiss up to your ass if you'll give me a show. Morning, I don't really like Donald Trump, although I like him sometimes when he wins because I'm kind of scared he's going to do something to me. And I'm a multimillionaire and I worry more about myself and don't really care about any of you. Joe. Could that be the name of it? I don't know. But he's earned his place in history. And I'm so glad, again, because a lot of this is luck, that luck worked out the way it worked out. And there were no other big stories going on around that time because, man, he deserved every little bit of that. What say you, friends, patriots, friends, Romans, folks lending me your ears? I have not yet thanked the super chat and super sticker brigade. Let's do that. So I did bring up Lisa Moore. I saw yours earlier, but let's never too many times. Hashtag outlive Trump. Honestly, I don't know everybody out here. But if you're anywhere, let's say from about 80 years old on down, have anything resembling vegetables in your diet, walk more than, let's say, 1,000 steps a day, 500. Don't rage tweet on your golden toilet at 2:30 in the morning about things like pastors who told you to have mercy for children. You'll probably live longer than Donald Trump. Again, let me be very clear to the folks out there, anybody listening, any Secret Service and whatever. This is not anything I am saying to threaten or negative or whatever. I'm giving you actuarial charts. Actuarial charts tell you that due to heart disease and things of that sort, dude ain't making it the full term. Who knows? Maybe he'll beat the odds. But that's what the odds would tell you when you take a look at the shape he's in and the rage and the lack of sleep and really pretty much, the crushed Adderall, really every risk factor one could probably have for having a coronary incident. So thank you, Lisa Mia Moore. I like that. 3 names. Lisa Mia Moore. It's like Mia More almost. Anybody ever say that to you? I can't. That would be harassment. Sheldon Hughes, a gift membership. Sheldon, always a player, as I said. He's in our lineup. Number 2, number 3 hitter. Thank you so much, Sheldon. Always appreciated. Again, I will always appreciate and thank you. And I will also tell folks that if you are choosing, and if all choices being equal between YouTube membership and Patreon membership, please, please, please do Patreon. I am actually going to offer incentives to the folks who are YouTube members. You'll getting emails from me. Well, you won't because I don't have your email, but you'll be getting a That's kind of the point here. You're going to be getting a proposal from me sent to Facebook members with certain incentives if you're willing to switch over to Patreon. There will be a raffle. You could win something really cool. I don't know. You may not find it really cool. You may. Like, example being, if you wanted a signed copy of The Real McCain here, the book that I wrote. I don't know. Maybe that's not exciting. But if you wanted that, we could do that. We could do whoever wins the raffle a 15-minute phone call. Do you like talking to me? Maybe you don't. Maybe you just like listening to me. Maybe you don't even like that. But I'll come up with something. And I really will try to, everybody will get something. Probably, first month free or something. You're already paying for YouTube. And something else. But I will also, the raffle for those who join, because in that way you will email me. And so I will have your emails, and then I will be able to keep in touch with you. And then if you choose to stay at YouTube at that point, at least I have your email. But I will hope that I can persuade you to switch from YouTube membership over to Patreon, where we are separate from the people that think Gulf of the United States is a good idea. Aloha Cliff from Hawaii. Wish I was out there, Lisa. Quesadilla 79 wants Antifa membership. Ooh, I don't know. If I can find you an Antifa sticker, would you do that for that? In any case, thank you. And I'm not telling you I don't want you to get YouTube membership. Obviously, that is better than not getting membership at all. And you will get benefits. I'm just telling you, I am preparing now, even more so, for what Google may or may not do in the coming year or two, or they could do tomorrow. So I'm asking you, honestly, Patreon and Substack. Those are the best places to do this. Doesn't change that I really appreciate it, Sheldon, and anybody who joins via YouTube, you're still a member, like any member of Patreon, and I so appreciate that you have made that investment of finances and time, and into wanting to hear what some goofball like me has to say. Clearly, it's too light, as you said. We gotta turn down those lights, man. Okay, Sheldon, we talked about you. We've got Atomic Daycare. Keep up the good fight, especially now. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I can promise you Atomic Daycare. I wish I knew how to walk away from a fight. Probably would have benefited me sometimes in life. I don't. So maybe that's good for this time. I hate bullies. I hate them. It can be in a TV show I'm watching. It can be in real life, just people bullying somebody on the street where I've gotten involved and maybe I shouldn't have. If you want to look at it from the perspective of my having 2 children and whatever, but I have. And not because I'm a hero. I'm not saying I get involved in it and run into every freaking burning building or whatever, but I cannot stand watching people be bullied. And Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and their whole gang are nothing but a bunch of lying, corrupt, callow, taint-smelling, ass-kissing, athletes toe-smooching losers and bullies, and I don't like them. So I will be in this fight, whether I wanted to be or not. Jim Parker, thank you for the $2 super chat. Elon salute challenge. Hey, reps, do a Sieg selfie. We may make a video about that. It may have been Stefanik. One of them was challenged if they thought that what Elon did was so okay, which we should be doing to these people every day, by the way. Again, messaging. Any Republican anyone you know in your life, any Republican, any right-winger who looks you in the face and says, what Elon did was a Roman salute, was fine. And you say, fine, let's go out in public, go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go to a pool hall, go wherever you want, and be like, it's a Roman salute. Go ahead, do it. Do it. Easiest way. What else do we have here? Sunshine, thank you for your $5 super chat. You disappeared. Whoa. Is Trump doing all this to distract us? What are we in for? Keep up the good work, guys, and hang in there. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Yes, he's distracting us with the little stupid things, because he is putting out some executive orders that are just dumb, and nothing is ever going to come of them that have no legal basis and whatever. So there's always stuff to distract. And yeah, some of the things he says and whatever is clear. I mean, with him again, it's hard to tell because he's such a lonely, pathetic, insecure little man with very baby hands, little babies, that he needs attention constantly. That's part of the narcissism, even negative attention. Even people yelling at him, it then upsets him when they insult him. So, it's like a narcissist can't win. They desperately need the attention. And then they get it in a negative way. It's like, well, at least people paying attention to me. But then what the people say about them really hurts. And they go back into that spiraling cycle. So yeah, he's doing some things to take our attention, but he's just doing some really awful things too. My buddy has been a member for 2 months. Fantastic. You're my buddy, my friend. And you have a cat in your picture. Huge win. If you want something else to be excited about with my Substack, I'm going to add to the letter so it has multiple parts. And there will be, remember guys, I got 4 cats, which is going to lead me to tell you something next that I need to tell you. That isn't as good, but not terrible. But I'm going to have kitty videos at the bottom of every one of my Substack letters because kitties are the best. So know that. My good pal Karen from Chicago, who I love, and many of you may know as a Steph head, and calls into Stephanie Miller, shows up at sexy liberal shows. Is so supportive of me and other folks in that universe. Thank you so much for the $9.99. Is that a super chat or sticker? I can never tell the difference, but whatever it is very generous, and you're very kind, and I really appreciate it. Joni McGillick, lunch with you. Thank you for the $2 super. Is that what you're saying should be the gift that we give to people? That's what they win. The problem is that I don't know where everybody lives. And I gotta be honest, I do have a family, and we do have plans. This is my older son, who's a senior, who'll be off to college next year, just like my last 7 months. Don't get me started crying because I adore the kid. Of him living at home, and I'm trying to spend as much time with him and family. Doesn't mean I can't travel anywhere, but also it kind of defeats the purpose of this if I have to drop a couple grand going somewhere and staying in a hotel. If you were willing to come to me for lunch or even meet somewhere where we could drive, I would keep that as an open idea. But we will figure out something that's good. Mr. Stoner, to you, dude. He's my man. I like Mr. Stoner. Again, I can see this from here that I'm sometimes moving in slow motion. Maybe I should claim to people I did it on purpose. I was like an effect. Are you seeing me in slow motion? I put acid in the chat. Thanks, man. Seriously. I appreciate it. And by the way, that wasn't a Mr. Stoner joke. I guess I realized that after I said your name. I wasn't saying you're stoned, which you may be, and I'm totally cool with that. I meant more that it seemed like I was moving in slow motion to everybody, and therefore, what about a mass meet and greet in Cincy? We could do that. I'm all for it, Mr. Stoner dude. If you guys are all for it. The thing about Cincy is it's a major airport. I flew direct from here to Paris. Just to give you an idea, we have about 5 or 6 direct international flights. Again, that's not New York, Chicago, LA, blah, 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 but that's also not Topeka or whatever. Not to insult Topeka, just to make a point that Cincy is one of the more major airports. It used to be a Delta hub, and now there's some competing stuff. So yeah, you can get here pretty easily. The western half of the country, it's tougher. Anybody in the Midwest over to the plains, and on the eastern half of the country, it's pretty easy. But we'll come up with something for this raffle, I promise you. And maybe we'll pick one winner. We'll have a couple winners, and then we'll give you something off just for switching over from a YouTube membership to a Patreon membership, a paid one. We'll set the bottom, whatever. It'll be 3 or 5 a month, something like that. But that's what we're probably going to do. And it reminds me again, guys, I've got so much going on with the Substack, Patreon, this, that I have neglected, and I am sorry about this, to answer the emails from a couple of folks that were looking for some help, some aid. I hope you subscribed for free to the Patreon. I hope you subscribe for free to Substack. Those are both free, and you'll get everything right now at Substack for free. You don't need to pay for anything. Patreon, you won't. get some stuff. But if we can get you, we can find some nice people and pull together, and I'll put in some funds to that to get you up to a $3 or $5 level. We'll see what we can do there. Christine Kane wants a new car. Well, yeah, Christine, I'd like to be back in France and live the rest of my life. If we can get you a new car, can you get that for me? Diane Capobianco with the great Italian name. I live in Florida, far from Ohio. I know. That's what I'm saying. At some point, again, if this takes off enough, if you guys do what you can do on a smaller level, go support me at Patreon. Subscribe to my YouTube so I make more money on my videos. Watch that Elon one that I sent you after this is over, so that gets more views. Subscribe to Substack because that will get me advertising, and eventually there will be some paid extra content there. Then I am able to afford this stuff, and then I will be more likely to travel around the country, and we'll meet in groups. You may have to travel a state or two over. I can't go everywhere. I have to be honest with you. I live in Ohio, so I'm kind of stuck with the right-wing loons here. I don't love traveling to Florida because I don't love traveling to states on purpose where there are right-wing loons. But also, I'm going to end up going to we do sometimes go to Key West for spring break with my kids because we love it there. It's liberal as hell, and it doesn't even feel like you're in Florida. You feel more like you're in the Caribbean, and you're closer to Cuba than you are to Miami. So that kind of says something. And there he goes again, my friend Jim, always coming in. Jim is also, folks, by the way, chose to voluntarily subscribe at YouTube, at Substack, where I've got 5 subscribers because I haven't asked for any. But you can. It costs money, and he's done that. He's constantly supporting me here. He's moderating for free. I believe he's both a member of the YouTube and Patreon. I don't know enough good things to say about you, Jim, but I do know I owe you. You have to tell me at some point around where you live. And there will be food and drinks and merriment for all. Jim had to say, I see Trump's term failing inside of 2 years, like Cygnus X1, spinning, whirling, like descending like a spiral sea, unending poetry too. I think so too. I think it's for what reason? He's going to look. He can't change his path because he's a narcissist. So the only way is if he's overruled and they 25th Amendment him. How likely do you see that happening? The other way is if he passes away, and that could happen. But if J.D. Vance takes over, he'll be horrific for whatever amount of time he has left, and then they'll lose the next election as long as we can make sure there is one, because J.D. Vance, again, all I ever say to people is go watch him order donuts, and you'll understand why J.D. Vance. I mean, the right has not found anybody else that I'm aware of that has that weird right-wing charisma. I don't get it because I see it as disgusting, but that Trump has to appeal to right-wingers. Like, he just has this natural appeal where they turn out and vote for him when they don't vote for other Republicans a lot of the time. I've seen look at them. Tom Cotton, Rick Scott, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz. Any of these people strike you as people that have the slightest modicum of charisma who could make people want to vote for them? Throw J.D. Vance in there. Elon Musk. Elon Musk's hundreds of billions of dollars would not buy him the presidency because he just has no sense of humor and is too disliked. Thank you for that, Jim. Again. Oops. Are discussed. Yes. I was trying to do this again to remind you because my good pal Andrea was nice enough to put it up there. I'll remind you guys again, subscribe to YouTube and subscribe to Twitch also. Again, those help. But Patreon, like Substack, a big one. Where I can promise you at Substack and at Patreon, I will continue to label at the Gulf of Mexico. That is a promise from me. It's not the charisma they lack, it's the integrity, decency. I don't see my buddy. I don't agree with that. Donald Trump lacks the integrity and decency. The charisma gets him over the top. It makes people that wouldn't normally even turn out and vote because, like, he's cool, he's famous, like he acts like he's a tough masculine guy, and some of these young men fall for it who don't normally vote. It is. Again, I don't understand Trump's charisma, but I have to disagree with you there. If it was all about who lacked integrity and decency, would a Republican get elected anywhere? I mean, I don't know. Democrats need to change methodology. Well, as you know, Sylvain Coiffon, we talk about that on here all the time. And my videos, which again, please watch, that also helps me because that launches them and more people see them and YouTube pays me more. And I'm going to start making them rougher and cooler. You may have seen the new thumbnail. I'm making newer and cooler and more interesting thumbnails. I'm just doing a lot of new stuff with and hopefully you'll like that with the Elon one. Yes, JD Vance isn't just a Catholic; he's Opus Dei. Yes, he is. He converted. The way Newt Gingrich's converted to Opus Dei, the way a number of members of our Supreme Court are Opus Dei, and there's others, plenty of others. Leonard Leo is Opus Dei. Again, they are, I mean, it's the easiest joke to make in the world, but it's the simple truth. We have a bunch of Opus DEI hires. They're only there because they've been supported by religious right nuts because of their zealotry. Cliff, has Snap been officially cut or not? I don't think Snap has been. I think they've frozen it. I'll have to look more into this. They've frozen a number of programs. It's going to hurt a lot of people. There were 2 people yesterday I meant to get for a FAFO segment here that I saw on TikTok. One was this, about Snap related payments, who now her husband was out of work and they were big Trumpers and they weren't going to be able to now afford food. And a second one who was Latina and her whole family is undocumented and she voted for Trump and now realizes that they're probably going to get thrown out of the country. I don't know what to do with people like that. There's a side of me where I know I should be a better person and I want to have some sympathy, but I don't care. They did this to my country. They made my kids have to live through 4 more years of this, and God knows, maybe forever. My wife lose her rights. Okay? They made anti-Muslim, anti-Semitic, which happens to affect me, and other kinds of bigotry just an open and acceptable thing. They did this. So I'm gonna try to save my sympathy for the people who are like them, who are going to pay the price of their stupidity. They didn't vote for this. I'll have that in a future video. Maybe you can all promise me you'll come check out my YouTube videos more too. That will help. If you can make a habit of subscribing and going to the channel, watching the videos. I promise you they're good. If you like this, you will like them. Some of them are sections taken out of here. Member for 2 months, C7557. It's like R2D2. All right, look at that. Join Patreon. Give me a sticker. LLLOMG. Well, Veronica, my trusty, awesome second in charge, we'll say, is taking care of the stickers. That is her gig, and she's probably watching. And if she isn't, we'll talk, and I will make sure you will be stickered. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. I can't tell you how important that is. I really can't. There's a reason I'm stressing it, guys. I don't want to put in all of this work to simply have Google decide that a tax break is more important than keeping people with varying voices on this channel. Let me see if I've got, it's 3:43. So I'm going to do a third, rant type thing. Third of what's called Cliff's note. I don't know. I got to brand this better. Larry Kudlow's Opus Dei too. I know he was formerly Jewish too, and converts from often it feels like from like lighter Christianity or Judaism, the more reformed ones, or Episcopalian, like not the heavy ones, are that much crazier when they convert. Also, drunk on air all the time. Also, cocaine problem. Also, used to play tennis at the West Side Club in New York City. Played against my uncle and cheated. Story I will tell for the rest of my life. And my uncle was a Republican, and I didn't like him much. So this is not coming from some liberal. Did I miss any of the ones? Nope, I didn't. Okay. It seems like when I'm going off of the screen here to look at the other materials I brought is when I am getting into trouble. So if it freezes a little bit for a second, folks, if you bear with me. Hey, look at that. Guys, just exactly the kind of thing that we were talking about. I think we need to do this one, and it may take a little while. Am I frozen? Are you seeing me okay? Because I'm going to have to read from something here. Let's see if we can make it happen. All right. So let's start off with our good friend Scott Jennings, guys. Scott Jennings, right wing pundit, McConnell piss boy for years, and Bush lackey at one point, and then of course Trump sycophant because he's got corporate clients up the wazoo, will do anything for power, for money. It's a big PR firm. I'm sure he promotes them all on CNN, and CNN doesn't care. Well, turns out Scott Jennings was challenged to do something he couldn't do. No, not lie. He's really good at that. But GOP pundit Scott Jennings kept his arm by his side Monday when he was challenged on CNN to mimic Elon Musk's Nazi-like salute from inauguration. The Washington Post's Catherine Rampell, who I really like, again, one of the few, I always say I will call out the good ones in mainstream media, corporate media. She's still good, which means I don't know how long she's going to be at the Washington Post, repeatedly goaded him to act it out to prove it was harmless. We don't have to go in the background. You know that Elon did this and whatever. And then he, I don't know if you knew about this, but added insult to injury by going and talking to the alternative for Germany, or the closest thing to a Nazi party. They're almost illegal there because Nazi stuff's illegal there. They're not quite over the precipice. They may get there. Musk went and talked to them after already endorsing them and said, there's too much of a focus on past guilt. Can you imagine? Can you imagine too much of a focus on past guilt? They only killed 11 million people in gas chambers, right? They only killed God knows how many people on the battlefield in bombing. Why should you feel any guilt over that? Nothing's that bad. You may have also read where, Elon, who last year took that trip to Auschwitz to pretend that he actually was not anti-Semitic after he allowed anti-Semitic stuff on. And I've quoted this and put it up a few times on after he allowed anti-Semitic stuff on Twitter. Julie Gray, who was there with him. I'll read it quickly. I see people posting that Elon was at Auschwitz this time last year. His recent gesture is not anti-Semitic. I have a photo with him, but I would not share that photo today. I chatted with him. I spent hours with him. I'm trying to read this quickly. At Auschwitz, I stood there looking at nauseating heaps of hair, luggage, etc. Is Musk an anti-Semite? People, actually, it's worse. He doesn't care whatsoever. Elon, father of little X, as he described his freezing cold son to me, literally does not care. He was unmoved by the experience. It says he was all about his press junket and his bodyguards. I was 10 feet from him as he posed for the cameras of his entourage. He was utterly detached. He cared about how he looked. When he placed a wreath at Auschwitz and Gaiden is her husband who lost his father at Auschwitz, was overlooked, he walked away with the cameras whirring. This is Elon Musk, a sociopath if there ever was one. To deduce from this visit that he's a friend of the Jews is desperately naive. So that's Musk, all right? But let's get back to Scott Jennings, who, like Elon Musk, sits there and simps for Nazis, but apparently won't raise his hand in the air like Elon did. Why won't he do it? I mean, it's the easiest thing to do if you don't think there's anything wrong with it. Here's what Jennings had to say. I don't understand why this guy keeps getting. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I don't understand why this guy keeps getting the benefit of the doubt, is what Rampell said about the anti-Semitic accusations against Musk. Jennings said Musk's awkward arm salute was merely expressing enthusiastically his appreciation for the crowd. Jennings will lie about anything. You ever seen what Jennings said after October 6th? Why do I keep doing that? After January 6th? Why don't, so in any case, Rampell, let me get back to it, said, why don't you do it right now? Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so banal? And Jennings, of course, did not bite. He spun it verbally. This is salute trutherism is outrageous. Salute trutherism. Then do it, you little punk, you little wimp, you weasel. Rampell is Jewish pushed further. So do it right now on TV if you think it's normal. Think it's normal way to greet people. Do it right now on TV. Why won't you? You wouldn't. Because he's such a cowardly little piece of dung. He's such a wimp. That is who he is, okay? And to give you more on the great Scott Jennings, because now I feel like I have to, This guy who's saying, "Oh, it was enthusiasm," and there's not Nazism. Republicans aren't that. We don't stand up for this, and or let's find you what he said on the day of January 6th. Here's Scott Jennings. And anybody who ever goes on TV with Scott Jennings and CNN, why you wouldn't bring this with you, I do not know. Here we go. 4 paragraphs. This is literally an insurrection. The fact that the U.S. military hasn't secured the seat of government already is a failure of leadership by the commander-in-chief. That was Trump. And this is Scott Jennings yet again. President Donald Trump caused the insurrection with his lies and conspiracy theories about the election process being rigged against him. It was not stolen, but this madness was fermented by the president and his top advisors over the past several months. Let me be clear. The rioters are not Republicans. Yeah, he's wrong about that. These are not patriots bursting into the U.S. Capitol, accosting police officers and destroying public property. These are domestic terrorists. Mind you, I've kept using that phrase, as you know. I hate it when they're called rioters or attackers. They are domestic terrorists. And Scott Jennings even used the right term in this letter before, of course, getting his tongue so far up Trump's ass it came out of his mouth. These are domestic terrorists, and they ought to be treated like any other terrorist uprising with the full force and fury of the U.S. government. Trump's video calling out these terrorists, which he released on Twitter, was a complete failure of leadership, a half-hearted and a wholly inadequate attempt to stop these individuals. There you go, guys. There's Scott Jennings right afterwards. Now Scott Jennings defending a guy doing a Nazi salute. That's who he is, and they still put him on there. How can you have any credibility after you wrote that? What he wrote in the harsh language, domestic terrorists, Trump had failed, all these things, and go on and defend Trump, endorse Trump, say that people are overdoing it. January 6th wasn't that big a deal, saying that Pete Hegseth assaulting a woman isn't such a big deal, saying that right now the Nazi salute isn't a big deal. The answer is you can't with any credibility. But CNN is a piece of garbage and doesn't care about having credibility. So they just proved with Jim Acosta too. So they'll keep running out this little twit. And why? Well, he's defending right now the 1,500 terrorists who were released. Hey guys, do you know what's happened with those 1,500? Not sure what the statistical probability is of this, but thanks to people like Scott Jennings, and Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump and everybody did all the dirty work, and then also spent the last 4 years as Merrick Garland failed to publicly talk to people about what happened, made the case that this was no biggie, nothing happened. Those 250 plus police officers put in the hospital who were attacked and crushed and gouged, and no biggie. That they wanted to erect a gallows for Romney and not Romney, well, Romney probably too, but for Pelosi and Pence, no biggie. Well, 2 of those guys have already been rearrested. Guys, it's been a week. Within 48 hours, one of them, moron that he is, because there's so many ways, so many loopholes in Florida. Of course, Florida man goes and he buys himself a gun, which it was illegal at that point for him to buy because he had some other charges against him, even though he was pardoned from this particular charge, and he was arrested again. 48 hours. It took one of these 1,500 domestic terrorists to commit a crime again. The worst one was just committed yesterday. Took him a whole 6 days. Let's tell you what happened there. Pardon man shot by deputy racked up 4 Indiana cases between January 6th and Trump pardon. 4 cases between that and the pardon. The January 6th defendant, shot by Jasper County Sheriff deputy, had been arrested at least 4 times since the 2021 attack, the U.S. Capitol. I don't know why he wasn't in prison immediately, and President Trump issuing his pardon. Matthew Huddle, 42, faced multiple pending motor vehicle cases at the time of his death. Each of the 5 charges, Lake Superior Court. Let's get past the boring stuff. He had an extensive history of driving offenses while intoxicated, which is pretty serious. So it seems like he drunk drove all the time. Looks like there's an assault in here, 13 criminal convictions. And when they sentenced him on January 6th, they pointed to all of that. And he was only still put in jail for a couple of years, 2.5 years, whatever it was. Oh, no, he 9 years, and he was let out after 2.5 years because of Donald Trump. Is that what it is? In any case, here you go. He had a traffic stop. Fatal shooting occurred at 4:15 p.m. on Sunday, shortly after a deputy with the Jasper County Sheriff's Office stopped Huddle's vehicle. While the deputy was attempting to arrest Huddle, an altercation broke out, shocker, between the two and end in the deputy shooting huddle, Indiana State Police said. Officials have not said exactly what happened yet, but they said Huddle had a firearm, which it seems he pulled on the police, and the police shot him and killed him. I feel no sympathy. He broke numerous laws between his terrorist attack and now he tried to shoot a deputy, and the world is probably a better place without him. But that's two. And we're, again, 2 in 6 days. I don't know about any yet today, but I may start keeping track of this. Should we keep some sort of figure on this? We're at 3:55, so we're almost at the end. I didn't realize this went so quickly, and I can't go longer than 2 hours. But the end of this is to say Scott Jennings enabled all of this by being the guy he is. He won't do the Nazi salute because he's a wimp, but he will claim that January 6th, guys with Camp Auschwitz t-shirts and the rest, we're all there for the good of the country. And that's why people like Huddle and others are out there, and that is why we are going to have a huge spike in violent crime under Donald Trump. Because if you don't know this, from the United States Sentencing Commission, the recidivism rate among nonviolent criminals is 39.8%. Okay, that's bad. You want to hear what it is among violent criminals? 63.8%. Bordering on 2/3 of violent criminals, again, commit another violent crime. 2/3 of those 1,500 terrorists are likely to commit a violent crime again. Unbelievable. So that will be my third takedown. I think we're almost at the point where I have to say goodbye, but you know what? I need to tell you something first. Sad, but well, in a few ways. I will not be able to do a live stream tomorrow. I may be able to get Matt Robeson, who contributes to the channel here sometimes to sit in for me. Who knows? Now tomorrow's Wednesday, damn it. Or I could beg Hal Sparks to sit in for me. You want that? Maybe I'll get Hal to do it. If I can get somebody to do it tomorrow, I will have somebody do it instead. So I have a diabetic kitty, as you know. I've mentioned that. And the place was filled for the pet hospital. I had to take her in to get her checked up. And the only time they'd open in 2 weeks is 2:30 tomorrow, right in the middle of when we would do this. And I love you guys, but I love my diabetic kitty to the ends of the earth. And I'm not going to make her wait another week or two when she could get worse. So I have to take her tomorrow. But what I am going to do is I am going to, 3:57, we got to go. I am going to see if I can get somebody else for tomorrow. Tony will let you know if either he's going to do it, or Hal, or Matt, or some other person, or if we'll do a replay. Either way, anyway, I can't even do my Jerry Maguire right now because I don't have the time. So I'm going to say I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Make sure to subscribe to Twitch. Make sure to subscribe to YouTube. Make sure go on to Patreon and go over to Substack and also become members. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. And as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.